The fishing news is brought to you by Interlux Marine Paint, Fanatics of Ocean City, Maxima Fishing Line, and Okuma.
Well, while Shark Week on the Discovery Channel doesn't get started until the end of this month, anybody at the Jersey Shore will tell you this second week in June is officially Shark Week because of the tournaments. I'm Jim Hutchinson with a New Jersey Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine, and by this time, you've already read the June edition. You saw all the great shark information. You know about the tournaments. I hope you also read the article by Gary Caputi on throwing plugs around those bunker schools, because the reason I bring that up is the big fish of the week. It belongs to Mike Vertoli of Deerfield Township, who was out on LBI over the weekend with a full load of live bunker that they'd taken inshore, went 2 miles out, and dropping a plastic swim shad hooked up with this immense 55-inch striped bass. Now, they had a 50-pound bogus scale on the boat. It bottomed out that scale, so they're assuming maybe 55, 59. Did it get over 60? It's a heck of a fish, and it shows you those bunker schools and trophy bass, they're there, and the fish are all the way from the inshore waters all the way out to the 3-mile line. They are in tight. JCAA's Paul Hartel hooked up this week, took the lead in the Simply Bassin tournament, the spring-long surf tournament on LBI. On Wednesday, caught a 30-pound, 9-ounce striper on bunker in Barnegat Light, weighed that in at Surf City Bait and Tackle. Now, with the offshore winds, the wests and northwests forecast for the rest of this weekend, it's a good opportunity to get out and look for those bunker schools in tight, where we should have a little bit calmer water. And of course, if you can get in on the surf bite, a lot of times those bunkers swim against the wind, and they can be in tight for you surfcasters. Now, while the annual Ocean County Bunker Run is, of course, in full swing, there's still bass coming up from Cape May, steaming north around the tip of Cape May, and all the way up into Brigantine. Eric Matizan was testing the waters over the weekend, hooked up with black drum and striped bass. That was the thing we were hearing from Riptide Bait and Tackle, that there were drum all over the place in Brigantine. That bite seems to continue. In fact, we had reports of black drum up into Island Beach, where we had black drum weigh-ins at Grumpy's Bait and Tackle and some of those grumpy clams. Now, most of the black drum bite, of course, this time of year is always down on the Delaware Bay, both on the Delaware side for those guys heading out of Lewis, as well as the Cape May fleet and those guys in Fortescue. If you read the May edition of the Fisherman magazine, Captain Steve Bent shared his tips for catching black drum. He put those tips to use just the other day, put his charter on fish to 75 pounds. So the black drum bite continues. A lot of the Cape May night shifters are working on the Weakfish. It's been a pretty good bite at night, and a lot of those tight-lipped guys finding the right spots, guys like Ed Teese, who's currently in the lead on the Fisherman Magazine's Dreamboat contest with a couple of good Weakfish weigh-ins from Cape May County. Found out from Avalon Hodgepodge the other day that Ed bucktailed yet another 9-pound Weakfish. So we're still waiting to see when and if that's going to hit on the Dreamboat leaderboard. We find out in that area that crabbing is getting a little bit better, and finally folks are finding a shed. Dave Scholl at Absecon Bay Sportsman has been shedding out some crabs finally, which is always a good sign for the shedder crabs tipped on the bucktails for Weakfish, or if you get that Finessence shedder oil, love this stuff, coated on your bucktails or on your plastics. It's a good time of year to dip into the scents. Let's stay around in the central South Jersey region for a little while. The back bay fluking in the area has been tough. It's definitely been a pick. You got to work to find those fish, short drifts. A lot of time you're fighting wind against the tide, but when you find those spots, you can really hook up pretty well. Friday, Todd Webb, for example, he was out with his grandfather, Captain Lee Webb Sr. Todd caught a 6.5 pounder. The father, or the grandson and the grandfather went out the following day, same spot. Lee Webb Sr. puts a 7 and a 7.4 on the board. Then they go grab the dad, Lee Webb Jr., go back out there Sunday, same spot, bang, 7.5 pounds. 3 generations, 1 great spot. Keep working, you'll find those fish. In terms of the next generation, we had our 8-year-old Nick Terry on his very first party boat trip aboard the Sea Tiger 2 out of Atlantic Highlands this week. Took the pool with a 7.5 pound fluke. He also had a nice bluefish on that trip as well. Congratulations, Nick. Shark River, up the Navesink, Manasquan to a point, but the fluke are finally starting to turn around, but you really got to work for them in many ways. If you're going offshore for those black sea bass, don't forget New Jersey, you've only got that 10 fish bag limit on black sea bass until June 19th. and then we've got a couple of a week closure for some ridiculous reason. We will reopen again July 1st with a 2 fish bag limit, which is pretty much just a bycatch limit for you guys fluking along the wrecks this year. North Jersey trolling and chunking and live lining continues to work for those big striped bass on the Raritan. We've had some really good reports. One 48-pounder that I heard of that was released. Another Guy Buono's Staten Island Tuna Club release here over the weekend. Now, I mentioned Staten Island Tuna Club because they have their Armed Forces Invitational Tournament this weekend. Any of you guys fishing, captains up there on the Raritan, looking to get in on this tournament, the guys at Staten Island Tuna Club would love for you to take out some of these service veterans fishing this weekend. If you're interested, call Walt Fisher at 917-375-7607. Now, of course, it is tournament sharking season. The South Jersey Shark Tournament is underway as you watch this. The scales open up Thursday night, and then Friday night, the captain's meeting for the Mako Mania Tournament kicks off. The weekend-long event, $225,000 in play with the Calcuttas. Plus, you could win a Chevy Silverado from Lester Glen. All you got to do is catch the state record Mako shark. Good luck on that one. Now, there are some big ones out there, though. Adam and the Canyon Runner, they had a 367-pound Mako in the Warriors tournament over the weekend. So keep an eye on the weather, and good luck out there because there are some big Makos in the region. Good luck this weekend to Stafford Township's Martin Truex. NASCAR fans, of course, they expected him to kick some butt at Pocono over the weekend. He had done just that in Charlotte a week before, but he had some troubles in pit row in Pocono. But he's out in Michigan this week, and I bring that up because Martin's a big fisherman and was doing a little bit of smallmouth fishing out in Michigan before that big NASCAR race on Sunday. So by the time that checkered flag waves on Sunday, I hope that you've cleaned a bunch of fish, and I hope you've had your own pit crew cleaning up the boat. But we will check in with you next week for all the tournament rundown here at thefisherman.com.
The Fishing News is brought to you by Interlux Marine Paint, Fanatics of Ocean City, Maxima Fishing Line, and Okuma.